welcome to this week's video. We've come out to a little area of coastline again that is just beautiful. We are so blessed and so lucky to find these little locations. We're coming up to a high tide. The focal point at the moment is this little sea stack with these black jagged shelves of rock leading out up to it. Oh, and the waves are just coming in and curling, wrapping all around the rocks, and it's an absolute joy to photograph, seriously. What's quite nice is it's nice as the waves are coming in, but it's probably nicer as the waves are going out, because just to the left we've got a couple of rocks in the sand, and as the tide's going out it's wrapping itself around those rocks as it goes out, creating some streaks with a little bit of light glistening on the sand. Every now and then again we get a huge wave that comes in and just batters. There it is, this side. This is going to be a big one. Nice, really nice. Woof. And again, just as those waves crest, you can see that turquoisey blue colour, which is a theme everywhere we've been. The waters here are so clear, so colourful, and it's just rugged. So what I've got on this shot is this sea stack just left of centre that I'm actually focused on. I'm on a horizontal image, and we've got two cliff edges that are just coming down to the top third of the image, with these rocks in the foreground, and then using the waves, the power, the motion, the textures in the waves to fill in this little bit of a gap that I've got on the left hand side, the bottom left hand side of the frame. So settings wise, I'm on f13, so because I'm focused on the stack, I want my foreground to be relatively sharp. I'm using a polarizer just to take some glare off these rocks. I've put a medium 0.9 grad in because my sky was blowing out as I was trying to expose correctly for the foreground. And I'm on 1/4 of a second. My ISO I've put up to 100. So again, I know I've spoke previously on other videos about that 1/4 of a second, but it's just slow enough, but just long enough to capture that streaking of the water. But this is just beautiful. But I probably need to just keep an eye on my ISO, because I don't want to change the shutter speed because I'm happy with that. I could probably bring the aperture down to f11, maybe get away with that, but I could put the ISO up a little bit just to keep everything else where it should be, just as this ambient light drops. There's some nice cloud. We've got some nice wispy textured cloud, which I'm hoping is going to catch. If it does, I may well do some long exposures and try and get the colour streaking, but that might be, oh, this is a big one. Woo! Oh, that might be wishful thinking, but we'll see what happens as the sun sets. The only thing you've got to watch here is with this sea stack is trying to just give a little bit of separation from the left-hand edge so that it doesn't cut into that stack, this cliff edge just to the left. And I think I've got an absolute millimetre. So I'm going to play around with compositions, play around with vertical and landscape shots and see what's working best. But yeah, we'll show you what we're doing. yeah, so I've moved up a little bit, and like I say, just focusing on these rocks in the bottom third of the image. Just in the midground, creeping in on the right of the frame, we've got a section of black rocks that almost leaning out to this little stack. Again, on the top third of the image on both sides, I've got the embankments on the cliffs, and I'm just waiting, as I usually do, for the waves to come in. What I'm wanting really is the waves to come up almost to the tripod leg, just to fill in, again, a little bit of a gap that I've got on the bottom left-hand side. The colour in the clouds now is reflecting off the sand. Wow, nearly. Just needs to come up a little bit more, which is quite nice. So just again, as the waves go out, we are getting a little bit of that reflection. But yeah, I mean, for anybody that doesn't know, with a quarter of a second, so the shutter is open for a quarter of a second. So when the shutter's open, it'll capture and record any movement in the frame. So that's why it's really good for this type of photography with the waves, because it's just open long enough to record that movement as it's coming in or going out. Those clouds are looking quite nice, but it's a little bit unbalanced because we've got clouds to the left, but we've got hardly anything to the right. Sunset, we've probably got maybe, I don't know, another 40 minutes or so, but I am going to do some long exposures just to see if we can pick any of that that movement up. So that requires obviously a lot longer of a shutter speed to capture the movement in the clouds. But I do want to try and get close in. There's this little rock here that just is creating a ledge for the water just to roll off. But when the water comes in, it comes in up to here. So not sure. But I want to try and get low down and maybe try a different angle, a different perspective. So just now it's at sort of hip height. I've done some a bit higher, but just to create a bit of interest really, just with different viewpoints, because we've just got the one subject, even though the foregrounds will be different as we move. I've moved up a little bit more, and I've now got the C-stack on the right hand side of the frame. Pretty much exactly the same in terms of the composition with the rule of thirds. But the reason that I'm doing this is to just experiment a little bit, because other than the stack, as I say, there's not much of a focal point except for the rocks here in the foreground. But it's just really to show you, wow, the difference between having a foreground, a strong foreground, or what I would class as a strong foreground, and just making use of the waves really. But I just think it's unbalanced. But let me know what you think. it's just great to be back out and exploring really, and trying to come up with different compositions. Again, I'm just looking here, just as the wave receded, there's some more rocks, again, just to my left. The problem is, if I go that way, we'll then not get any separation between the sea stack and this next cliff. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to put all these images up for you that we've taken. So I've taken a lot of images so far. I've probably taken, I don't know, maybe 50 or 60 images. And that's the thing with the Seascape, because you're capturing it as it's coming in, you're capturing it as it's going out, and sort of hoping for that best looking wave, if that makes sense. So I'm going to pick out the best ones to show you. Let me know what you think in terms of whether you prefer the foreground, as in using the rocks with the water cascading round, or whether you actually prefer something a bit more simple with these types of shots where it's a bit more serene, a bit more peaceful as the waves just come up and cascade away. So yeah, let us know what you think. So I hope you've enjoyed the images from this evening. We've really enjoyed taking them.
Great discovery.
We've also had the maiden voyage with the new drone, so I'll let Max talk you through that.
Oh well, it's a new drone. I sort of had a little accident with the last one with the sand, which I didn't fess up to until very late in time, so we bought a new one now anyway. I've just had a little go with it, buying some legs for it tomorrow because I didn't really want to land it on the sand. Had to land it on the sand today because obviously we didn't have the little landing unit for it, but again, hopefully those I took a couple of pictures and took some footage, so we'll see what that looks like.
Boom for that indeed. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video. The waves are still crashing in, although the tide is receding. The colour's gone out the sky now. Managed to get a couple of shots, I think, with some nice pink hues in, and so yeah, good stuff. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. Oh, actually, our next week's video will be on holiday, won't we?
Yes, we will. Yes,
so
we will.
We're still at the moment unsure where to head, but
North.
we'll be somewhere north. So yeah, tune in next week and God knows where we'll end up. Take care. See you next week. Adios.